Because there is huge amount of academic discussion that Muslims inherently they are somehow enemy to the West. They mention it put it into this phrase. I wanted to make it clear that the phrase West, when we use, there are two possibilities or two general meaning in it. One, West as a location, which means place, East, West, and we come to live in it. We have nothing against the West as such. The early Muslim believers of the Holy Prophet, they went to Habasha, they migrated, they went south. So if there is no issue regarding West as a location that we want to live in it. What we are trying to resist is another type of West that comes to occupy the mind, to get into our head, and by getting through like an infection, gradually moves to remove all our fundamental principles and philosophy and culture and belief and replace it with something which is totally foreign. If we go back, since we are talking about the Yom al-Quds, and we go back to the early Islamic revolution, if we see Marhum Imam Rahmatullah alayhi talking about Shaitan al-A'zam, the great Satan being in the West, not because of the location, geographical location, because for him, US represented a unique ideology which is coercive, corrupting, and that's why it opposed it. He went to Paris and stayed in Paris, and Paris technically is within the location of the West. There was no objection to it. But what he resisted was the mind, the ideological mindset that ultimately comes to dictate and take control of our mind, particularly the younger generation, that they are not mature enough. They don't have the resources to be able to respond. That is the point which I wanted to put across, that if somebody says you don't like the West, ask them for clarification. But what do they mean by the West? Do they mean that it's the location that we are living in? We have no objection to it. But if they mean that this, explain to them, if you mean ideology, yes, Islam has its own ideology and you have your own ideology. And what we see, there is a conflict and clash between that ideology and this ideology. One rests on Allah and submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the hereafter and accountability. This one rests on material and you become the God and nobody else around and you decide for yourself. There is no accountability. As the Jahiliyyah used to say, people of Jahiliyyah, this world is the only qualitative time. Oh, Molana, I am, say, a taxi driver or whatever. I have to leave home at 6 o'clock in the morning and I have this business, that business, and I come back. And when I leave home, they are asleep. And when I come back in the evening, they are asleep. I said, I wake up. They are moving out of the house and I wake up to come and wash my face. Within that episode of few minutes or so, hi dad, how are you, and so on, he goes out and that's it. That's the quality time that I spend with my children. So under the circumstance, what do you want? If we are not prepared to act, that we have a responsibility, وَالدِّلَالَةُ عَلَى رَبِّهِ وَالْمَعُونَةُ عَلَى طَاعَتِهِ. Not only we are responsible to guide them to teach them to be ready for that, not for what I went through. What I went through is passé, as they say, finished. What you went through as childhood 50, 60, 70 years ago, it's gone. What you really need to develop a strategy is what they are going to go through in 2 years, 5 years, 6 years from now, when they go out and into the real world and they begin to drift from the material or from the moral principles of their parents. How are you going to combat that? Do you ever sit and recite next to them? Do you organize Salat al-Jama'ah inside the house and bring your toddlers and to sit next to you and look up what you are doing for them to imitate and emulate in their life? When you try to fast and break fast, would you bring them and sit them next to you and explain to them what you are doing and what is the whole concept of fasting? Our imams say our children start fully praying, complete prayers at the age of 4. And fully fasting at the age of 7. We don't expect you to do that. They say it. But at least by the age of 7, they should be able to recite prayers properly, with proper pronunciation. We as adults, we don't have proper pronunciation ourselves. How can we ask our children to have proper pronunciation? So sadaqah jariyah that we are talking about, that they are going to be ultimately live on this earth after us and have a moral and ethical principle and way of life that become some kind of an image for us, is when we spend time. فَإِنَّهُمْ مَخْلُوقُونَ لَغَيْرِ زَمَانِكُمْ. When we plan, everything needs planning. There are a number of books that one could use for teaching our children. There are a number of minorities and communities that they work hard to develop something in other parts of the world. Try to get these books and see how they have prepared it. It can be done, but we need, as parents, to shift our priorities rather than spend all the time chasing American dollars.